Contracts in sports are getting more and more ridiculous each offseason. Almost every single year we get a new highest paid player in whatever sport. With no signs of sports losing popularity, these contracts are only going to get bigger and bigger. In each league, every position seems to be paid pretty evenly. The highest paid NBA players all come from a variety of positions, same with the NHL and same with the MLB. There's no one position that stands out amongst the others as being overpaid in those leagues. In the NFL, on the other hand, well, I'll describe the situation like this. Justin Jefferson, the best receiver in the league, he's now making $35 million a year. Daniel Jones is making $40 million a year. When you look at a list of the highest paid NFL players, the top of that list is full of quarterbacks. The 15 highest paid players are all quarterbacks. The NFL 100 last year had 14 quarterbacks total on the list. That's 14 of the top 100 players being quarterbacks, not 15 of the top 15. The top 30 on that list only had 4 quarterbacks. I'm not here to argue that quarterbacks don't deserve the most money. It is the most important position, and teams that have great quarterbacks are more often than not great teams. I'm not here to make any arguments at all, actually. Though I do want to point out, Pat Mahomes at only $45 million a year might be the best contract in sports. $45 million a year is what Kirk Cousins just signed for this offseason, and the Falcons already drafted his replacement. What I want to talk about is when we're going to see a quarterback making $100 million per year. Why do I want to talk about that, you might be wondering? That's because I like discussing random sports topics. If you enjoy that as well, hit the subscribe button down there. Joe Burrow currently makes the most at $55 million a year, so it might look like we're a bit far off from making $100 million a year, but the NFL is printing more money than it ever has. I think it's going to happen sooner than you think. There's no definitive way to figure out when it's going to actually happen, but we can make a nice educated guess using some facts, a little bit of speculation, and some math. When Burrow signed his contract, it represented 24.4% of what the NFL salary cap was at the time, the highest percentage a single player had ever taken up in NFL history. When Burrow signed his contract, there was still another year left on his rookie deal, so it never actually took up 24.4%. That percentage is a nice starting point though. If Joe Burrow signed his contract in 2024 instead of 2023, he would already have a huge pay increase. When Burrow signed that contract in 2023, the NFL salary cap was $224 million, so the $55 million is 24.4% of that number. Just one offseason later, the NFL salary cap jumped up 13.61% to about $255 million. If Joe Burrow signed his contract this offseason and he got the same exact percentage that he got last year, his annual pay would have been $62.4 million. That's a $7 million increase in just one offseason. The increase in the salary cap this offseason is the 4th highest percentage that the cap has ever risen since the introduction of the salary cap back in 1994. So normally you wouldn't expect an increase that large. So why did it increase so much, you might be wondering? The NFL released a statement saying, the unprecedented $30 million increase per club in this year's salary cap is a result of the full repayment of all amounts advanced by the clubs and deferred by the players during the COVID pandemic, as well as an extraordinary increase in media revenue for the 2024 season. 2021 was the only time ever that the salary cap decreased because just like every other business in the world, COVID hit the NFL hard. The NFL is fully recovered and then some. Here's the real interesting part though. There was, and here's the quotes, an extraordinary increase in media revenue for the 2024 season. So what does this mean exactly? Well, it means that Taylor Swift got Jay Jetta's paid, that's what it means. Okay, maybe not actually, but she was a huge part of the NFL media this past season, so I do think she might have had a little bit of an impact. Just a little bit. While it seems like this large increase is partially due to a factor that the NFL can't control, I do think that there's a lot that the NFL is doing to make the league more popular than it ever has been. Since the cap decreased back in 2021, the following 3 seasons all have had salary cap increases that are in the top 10 largest by percentage in NFL history. So let's bring back that 24.4% number from earlier. If a quarterback signs a contract and takes up 24.4% of his team's cap space, for that contract to be worth $100 million a year, the salary cap would have to be $410 million. This website Spotrac has a ton of information regarding sports contracts and cap space, So if you're ever curious about a player's contract or what free agents your favorite team's going to have in a couple years or whatever potential sports contract questions you might have, this is a great website to get that info. They have estimated salary caps for the NFL up until the year 2030. 2030, they show $383 million for cap space. So going off that, we can assume the NFL will have a salary cap of $410 million in probably 2032. Just going off the numbers, that's the year we're going to see the first $100 million contract. Alright, well, there's your answer, 2032. We'll see a man make 9 figures a year to throw a football well. That's not a bad life. Just wait 1 second though. While some people might think there's no chance that the cap increase is as large as it was this past season, I think there's a strong chance it's going to be even larger, and even larger in the years to come. I think there's a chance we see a $400 million salary cap before the year 2030. I have 2 key reasons backing my claim. The first reason is that the NFL is putting in more work than ever to expand the game internationally. The NFL has been playing at least 1 game per season over in London since 2007, and that isn't going to change anytime soon, it looks like, with 3 London games being played in 2024. In 2022, the NFL started playing games in Germany, and last season we had 2 Germany games. Now the NFL is heading back there for another one in 2024. The big international expansion in 2024 will happen in Week 1 though, when the NFL has a Friday night Week 1 matchup between the Packers and the Eagles in Sao Paulo, Brazil. The NFL is expanding into places that it's never reached before, and they're doing it more and more every single season. For 2025, the very first ever NFL game in Spain has already been announced, and the league also voted on expanding the max amount of international games to 8 games in the 2025 season. There's no doubt in my mind the NFL is going to take advantage of all 8 of those games. There'll be an NFL game in China by the end of the decade, I'm calling it right now. The NFL is expanding to all these untapped markets, bringing in millions of new eyes to the game. I don't know if they're going to be bringing in dollars or pesos or yen or rubies or whatever. All I know is these international games are going to lead to a lot of money for the league. While international games are great for fans, the second reason is something that every fan hates. But the NFL is making so much money from doing this, so we're going to be seeing a lot more of it in the coming years. Different streaming platforms paying the NFL to exclusively show games. Just a couple years ago, Amazon and the NFL made a deal for Amazon to be the exclusive place for Thursday Night Football. Amazon is paying $1 billion a year for this. Just last season, Amazon and the NFL made a deal for another game, a Black Friday NFL game that cost $100 million for the streaming rights. For just that one game, $100 million. NBC Universal paid $110 million for the exclusive streaming rights to an AFC wildcard game this past season. You remember that Brazil game I was talking about earlier? That game is also going to be streamed exclusively on Peacock. I couldn't find any number for how much that deal was, but I would imagine it is a ridiculous amount of money. Another exclusive streaming rights deal that was made this offseason was between the NFL and Netflix. Netflix will pay the NFL $150 million this season for the rights to both NFL Christmas games. The NFL brings in viewers, and companies are willing to pay whatever the league wants to get just one game. With the addition of more international games and the inevitable 18-week schedule likely coming in the next few years, the NFL has plenty of games for companies to pay for. With those reasons in mind, let's ask the question again. When will NFL quarterbacks make $100 million per year? I got no clue, that's my answer. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see someone in the league today be the player to get that contract. Maybe Caleb Williams has a Pat Mahomes type start to his career and the Bears decide to cash in after his rookie deal ends. Or maybe in 5 years, Mahomes tells the Chiefs he wants to get a new contract, so they decide to give him 9 figures a year. Or maybe the NFL decides to sell its soul to gambling even more than it does now, and everyone just starts making that much money. $100 million per year sounds insane for a pro athlete to be making, but sooner than later, an NFL quarterback will be making that kind of money. So when do you think NFL quarterbacks are going to be making $100 million a year? Is it going to happen soon, or are we a long way away from it? Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'll be sure to reply. Thanks for watching.